Hello, welcome. I am Ann Arsenault. Positionally, I serve as the director in our Office of Student Leadership Development, and I'm going to share some information today about what to look for finding community, finding clubs, and how you can support your student as they are looking to get involved at William and Mary. So give me a technical second. I'm going to switch over to my slides and make sure that we are ready to go. I think that should give us what we're looking for. Great. Well, hello, and again, welcome. We are going to do a little bit of information about clubs and community and getting involved at William and Mary. And so happy to share some of this information with you today and help you learn a little bit more about how to support your student as they are coming aboard at William and Mary. Just a little bit about our office, which is something we always like to do when we have the opportunity to share with people who we are and how we try to support students. We have a mission that has us focused on helping students as they develop their own leadership capacity. And for most students, that looks like practicing leadership in some of the communities and involvements and initiatives that they will take on. Specifically, our office is responsible for leadership development programs and initiatives. We have nearly 500 recognized student organizations. We provide support and oversight and advising to our student government. Part of our office is also fraternity and sorority life. And then we have a whole series of media council publications that our office supports as well. That's just a little bit about our office. And in addition, one more thing we like to share about our office is just the framework we use when we are supporting students and student organizations. We know that there are very specific individual leadership capacities that an individual looking to grow as a leader needs to pursue. And so that is our leader development side of the framework. And because we also are working to support our student organizations, we know that there are certain elements that need to be in place to ensure organization success. So we work with both individual students trying to build their own leadership capacity through programs and events and activities that support that. And then we also support the positional leaders and the organizations so that they can be successful. We know when we have both the leader development side of the house and the organization side of the house, both being successful, we know that that helps to contribute to positive change in terms of affecting the causes, communities, and initiatives that we care about. And that's our definition of how we explore leadership on campus here. One of the things we like to share with people just about the importance of getting involved is the Purdue Gallup Index did a study several years ago that talked about what creates the difference between a good college experience and an extraordinary college experience. And the three things that they found that really, independent of what the institution was, what type of institution it was, but created the difference between good and extraordinary were the opportunity to develop a deep connection with a mentor, taking on a sustained academic project, and then playing a significant part in a student organization. So if you're looking to support your student having an extraordinary experience at William & Mary, those are three areas to focus on. Our office loves to focus on the final one that is bolded and highlighted, the part about playing a significant part in a student organization, because that's our lane. That's where we spend time. That's who we support. And we're excited to know that that's part of what contributes to a really remarkable experience, and want to highlight some of those facets for you. This program is really about how to take those first steps to finding your people and finding your community at William & Mary. Your student is here and they are ready to take those first steps. So we're going to give you some ways to coach them, some things to know that are happening for them, and the experiences that they are having so that you can support them and also have awareness of how we're sort of laying out different opportunities for them. Sometimes in our office, when we get to talk to parents and families about what they're anticipating for their student, we sometimes find that there is a whole spectrum of expectation, and every journey is going to be different. At one end of the spectrum, sometimes there can be a parent who is worried that their student will never leave their room. And at the far opposite side of the spectrum is a parent who is worried that their student is going to try to join all 500 clubs. Somewhere in the the middle is probably where your student is going to be, but every journey is going to be different based on the individual, based on the interests that they have, and no journey is wrong. The way that student might go about finding their community and finding their people might look different depending on where they are on the spectrum. But just know that we sort of recognize that all of these opportunities exist, and every student is different and every journey is different. And you're going to know best about what you anticipate you will hear from your student about how they want to engage. But very specifically, I'm going to share with you some ways that they are going to be prompted to engage and some things that you can also follow along with if you're interested. So TribeLink, and the website is up there. TribeLink is our student engagement platform. It is where we help to support students finding engagement opportunities. And there are two very specific, and this is available publicly. There are some things that are private features in there, but the directory and the events, which we're going to talk about, they are available to anyone. So you can log in to TribeLink at any point in time and see all of the publicly available data that is there. One of the most important things that TribeLink offers us is our organization directory. And so the organization directory is where the roster of recognized student organizations exists. Your student got prompted this summer in their pre-orientation work through STEP to set up their TribeLink profile, to go and explore TribeLink. So most students, by the time they arrive, have at least checked it out once or twice because they're sort of interested in seeing what is out there. TribeLink is the great one-stop shop for a student trying to figure out, are the groups that I'm interested in, do they exist? Where can I find them? What are the opportunities? And they can search for organizations. Searching for an organization, I've highlighted that search bar in TribeLink. Searching for an organization will pull up any group that has the word that they're looking on in either the title or in the description of the organization. So it has pretty good results. It doesn't always hit everything, but if the students throw in a couple different keywords, a couple different searches, they're likely going to find the thing that they are looking for. There are also categories within TribeLink. So some of those are what I have up right now is sort of the first feed of performance and arts. We have academic and professional interests. We have community engagement opportunities. We have general recognized student organizations. We have spirituality, faith-based organizations. So lots of different categories if you want to narrow the list and then just scroll through all of the available opportunities that exist in there. So this is an example of our performance and arts listing. And again, it would just be a feed. Students could look through there. If they were really interested in performance or music or singing, they could narrow with some keywords. But this is a little bit about how the org directory works. And we hope that students are doing some early shopping and trying to identify, these are some groups that I'm sort of interested in finding out more about. Sometimes it can feel sort of intimidating to join a group or to reach out to say, I'd like to join. And there's a contact us button in the org directory. In addition to the org directory, one of the other best features for TribeLink is the TribeLink events portal. So this is a sample page from last spring when we are deep in the semester and sort of lots of things are happening. And so any student can go to the events feed within TribeLink, and there will come up all of the things that are open to people to come. So sometimes it's an interest meeting recruiting people. Sometimes it's a campus-wide event. It can be all types of different things. And students can express their interest in those, go to those things. They kind of know where they are based on the event feed and the time. And most of the things that get posted in TribeLink are events that the hosting organization is interested in getting as many people to come to. So sometimes checking out a group by going to some of their events is a great way to sort of like window shop a little bit without fully committing. And our TribeLink event feed is a great way to kind of find out what's going on campus, tap into that, and participate in things before you decide to sort of commit one more layer in by joining. It's also great to like bring a friend and say like, let's go to this thing, see how it is, and kind of check out this particular group. So that's a pro tip that we offer. And the TribeLink event feed, as we head into the semester, will get more and more populated as groups return and start to post the events that they have going on. The other thing that we often get asked about, and yes, for sure, we do organization and activities fairs that are hard baked into the orientation schedule. And those happen two different times in the year. One happens in August at the start of new student orientation in August. And then we also offer a mid-year student organization and activities fair. A couple pro points about the org fairs. One is they always happen on the Monday and Tuesday night of our August orientation. So that'll happen within the orientation schedule available to students. And we have, based on space, it's over 2 nights and based on the type of group. So that's something that is advertised to students about here's who's going to be at the fair this night, who's going to be at the fair that night. And students will get more information about that. What I will say is it's still kind of good to use that in conjunction with TribeLink because we have 500 student organizations and there'll be just under 200-ish at 250-ish over the course of the 2 nights of the fair. So there isn't space to accommodate everyone. So sometimes they'll reach out on TribeLink and then also showing up at the fair in person. The group might not be at the org fair for whatever reason. And so just letting the group know that you're interested in finding out more about interest meetings or how to join is a good thing to do through TribeLink, and then the in-person experience at the org fair. We know and get the feedback for some people is that for some students that just getting to William and Mary, going through the first few orientation events, and then being ready for classes is where they want to spend their time and focus. And they might dip their toe into like one group that they're interested in joining, but they're not really ready to take on the full involvement experience. And with that, we also offer a January organization fair. And that's really designed for incoming transfer students in January, but also all students. So for all of our org fairs, it's never just limited to incoming students. The org fair is something that we are promoting to all students across campus so that, you know, if you hit junior year and you're like, I'm ready to try some new things, or I've changed my major, I'm looking for some different academic related groups, the org fair is a great place to come back to at any point in time. And the January org fair for the student who is sort of like dipping their toe in their first college experience semester, that's a great thing to come back to in the second semester. So org fairs hard baked into the orientation schedule and will be definitely something that the student knows about and is actively participating in the upcoming week during orientation. As students start to narrow down the 500 student organizations and try to find the right place to join, because it's a lot, and it's a lot to figure out, well, where do I start? Because you certainly don't want to be that person who's on the realm of, I'm going to join them all. That's not great. We want students to focus in, and these are questions that we prompt for the students. They hear these from us. They hear them from their orientation staff. We want students to think about 3 questions while they are seeking their involvement opportunities to kind of narrow down and find a right focus in for them. The first question that we always ask students to think about is like, what do you care about? Or what are you curious about? And for many students, this looks like people, places, causes, or cultures or projects that are already important to them. So they're coming to William and Mary, they already have a commitment or an interest in this particular area, and it's something that they want to continue. We definitely recommend that a student taps into something like that. The second area that we ask students to think about is what are skills they want to explore or develop. So this might be something that advances academic or professional interests, and there are all kinds of groups associated with majors or academic learning or speech and debate. Something that will enhance a skill set is another way to think about where and how you might want to pursue involvement. And that's a second type of group to look for while you're exploring all of the groups. And then the third recommendation that we always make for students is like, what's something that's just for fun and restores your well-being? So where do you not have to where do you not have to be in leadership? Where can you be doing something for fun? Whatever that is for the students, something that they feel great about just doing for fun and is there for them. And we want students to find those opportunities there. So as you're coaching and supporting a student who's trying to figure out where to start, those are the 3 types of groups that are a good place to start. And then more or less could grow from there, but it's a good way to kind of funnel down, like 500 seems like a lot. Where do I start? While I've said 500 seems like a lot, and we want students to sort of funnel, one of our office offers and supports several different leadership initiatives that the leadership initiatives are all based on a national study about college student leader outcomes. And one of the things that that data tells us is that students who do a few things significantly have greater leadership outcomes than those students who spread themselves too thin. Also leads to greater enjoyment, right? If you have time to see your friends and eat a meal and exercise and not be so stressed, it sort of makes sense. But sometimes for our entering students, this is a new message for them. I'm not always convinced that the message that a student received as a high achieving, academically inclined student who got into William and Mary matched this message. I think sometimes the message that students are hearing primarily in high school is do more, be a leader in all of it. And we want to begin to flip that switch in order to help produce better leadership outcomes. So an area of support that we always ask for from parents and families is to ask your student to think about where are you doing a few things significantly and not trying to spread yourself too thin. There isn't a magic number. Not all involvements are created equal. Every student is a little bit different. But again, not trying to do everything is a better focus, and trying to do a few things significantly is an area that we ask students to think about. And as parents and families, we ask you to think about in supporting them as well. Where to start? So talked a little bit about Tribe Link, the event feed, the org directory. We've talked a little bit about the org and activities fairs, but there are other first steps that students can think about while they are trying to get involved. And so this is just an array that I'm going to sort of go through the circle and share a little bit about some of the different things and some of the different places we would recommend that a student could seek additional first steps. We've mentioned org fairs, we've mentioned Tribe Link, and we've said attend events. Those are three of the standard ones just to kind of dive right in and get involved, and easy to do using the resources that are out there for people. Often a good discussion with an OA or an RA, with the orientation staff or with the resident assistant about, like, how did you find community? How did you get involved? Where did you start? That can be a good thing that helps the student learn more about, well, what should I be taking on? Or what are other groups that might be interesting for me? Or does my OA know somebody who's a member of this group that I'm really interested in joining? And can they facilitate an introduction so that I feel more comfortable learning more and going to the first info session? So OAs and RAs are great resources for asking additional questions and sort of exploring the question of, like, well, how did you find your people? How did you get involved? And taking pro tips peer-to-peer from a student. Student Happenings is another resource that comes straight to your student's inbox twice a week. So on Mondays and Thursdays, there is an all-campus email blast, and that email blast includes all of the announcements and links to activities and events that are happening on campus. And so just reading that and committing to sort of seeing what is in Student Happenings can be a good way for a student to find a very specific opportunity that especially matches their particular interests. And that's a resource that starts and goes twice a week while the semester is running. I also want to highlight Alma Mater Productions. So AMP is our campus programming body, and AMP is responsible for doing programming that is open to the campus community. So attending an AMP event with friends or to come and connect with other people is a great experience. AMP does all kinds of events. They do about 75 events a year. They do our last day of classes celebrations. They do this year on the first weekend, they will be doing a Tribecella music festival. So following AMP, finding out what they're doing gives you a place to kind of get out, do something, go with a friend, and get connected. So that's a good way to sort of just start with the AMP events, because you don't have to be running them, but they offer really fun experiences for people. Space is really important at William and Mary. We have a beautiful campus, and sometimes people naturally congregate in different spaces. So some of the places where people sort of come to see and be seen and then hang out, and offers a great opportunity to meet and connect with people, is the terrace. The Sadler Terrace is just jam-packed, usually in the lunch hour on a Friday afternoon. Sometimes AMP is doing programming events to coincide with some of that. And then the Slice is an area in the Sadler Center. But Finding spaces on campus, the Sunken Garden is another one. People tend to head out to those. Finding on spaces on campus where people are congregating and being part of that community can sometimes just lead to wonderful connections with other people. The number of people I've watched or myself walking through the terrace and somebody will say like, hey, and I want you to meet this person. And so that's a great way to make connections with others. Fraternity and sorority life. So that's our acronym. I couldn't fit all fraternity and sorority life on the little bubble, but fraternity and sorority life is FSL. And I do plug this one particularly because it's not the experience for everyone, but about 26% of our students at William & Mary will join a fraternity or sorority. And the thing I like to highlight about fraternity and sorority membership is where it is really great is it's one of the very few experiences that offers students a deep dive into a multi-generational experience. So as a freshman, you are getting to know juniors and seniors. You are finding mentors who are at a different stage in their campus community. So Fraternity and Sorority Life will do a meet and greet event that will take place within the orientation schedule. There are 3 different joining experiences depending on the type of group that you're interested in joining. And that will happen on Monday during the new student orientation schedule. And 30 groups, 26% of the population, but a really wonderful way to sort of find a home embedded within the William & Mary community, a smaller group of people that you can connect to. And so often we like to plug that for somebody who's looking to kind of really connect within a community that might have some deeper legs throughout the campus. I also offer, just to always know, either for you or for your student, this doesn't happen as much. I think the student is much more inclined to go to their OA or RA than to ask the administrator for support. But our office and STEP can be particularly helpful if you found something you're interested in and you can't quite connect with the group. Like the group isn't responding, or you're not sure where they're meeting, or you want more help finding out if something in particular exists. So reaching out to staff in SLD to help with that problem, or STEP will also be offering, we know that the first 6 weeks of the semester are a critical time for onboarding and engagement, and STEP is deeply focused on providing programming during that time period. We support their model where we want students to find their people and community and then form those connections. And then towards the latter end of their William & Mary experience, begin to really focus in on what that is. But STEP is very much focused on helping the finding and the forming stages for our incoming students. And then we are going to have my first William & Mary weekend, some weeks of welcome events. There'll be some campus-wide things that are particularly targeted to sort of help with that maybe lull that comes from we get students here, we have a really robust orientation program, and then it's like classes start and it's like, well, I'm not in the group going to a program altogether. And so there's some things that are specifically targeted in that first weekend and in that first week following that sort of help to support continued all campus engagement opportunities. So being on the lookout for those. One of the things I didn't mention, but I will plug, is that if your student has explored the org fair and explored TribeLink and hasn't found what they're looking for and has a novel idea, our office does run the recognition process. And so there's a whole process and steps that if somebody wants to start a new student organization, that's certainly a possibility. We always encourage students to make sure it doesn't already exist. And by looking through the TribeLink to kind of make sure that it isn't a redundant opportunity, but that is also a process managed by our office if students are interested in starting something new. Usually we want them to find something already established. It's a lot of work to start a new student organization. So we like them to dig in on at least 1 or 2 that are already in the hopper. Additional message that we want students to hear, and we will do a good job promoting this, and we'd love for you all to have some support on this one too, is that we want students to know that they don't have to wait until they have position, title, or role to make a change or a positive impact in the things that they care about. And so we support an initiative entitled No Title Needed. And really for our incoming students, many of them are coming from high school. They are coming from where they were the so-called top of the pack. They were leading their groups, they were leading their communities, and they get here and they feel like, well, I'm not XYZ officer, so I can't really do that. And what I can tell you is nothing our student organizations love nothing more than a student who raises their hand and says, I'm really interested in getting involved. I know I'm not an officer. I'm here to help. Tap me in. Is there anything specifically I can do? And we want our students to know that they don't have to wait to be like tapped for leadership in order to kind of raise their hand and say, I'm in it, I'm committed to this, and how can I help? Because leadership outcomes occur regardless of position, title, or role, but often the hierarchy of high school environments doesn't lead people to really explore that. And that's something that we really try to promote here for William and Mary students. Last slide. Just want to say, like, this is our team. This is our team at our last day of classes event that we hosted in the spring semester. My colleague Jen also supports our student organizations. The two of us are available to answer any direct questions if you have them, and really hope that your student has a great experience at William and Mary. We're so excited to have them be here. We're so excited to support them, and hopefully this has given you a good overview of some good first steps that they can take as they seek to find their people and find their community at William and Mary. Thanks so much.